and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. We are here to discuss the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. But first, before we do that, thank you to everyone who has gone out and picked up the free copies of my books. We've been up in the top 25 on some of them, which is just fantastic. Thank you so much. If you are listening to this and you have not gotten a free copy of my book, there is still time. If you go to multipleworldproductions.com/Black Friday, between now and the end of the day tomorrow, Saturday the 26th, you will get a free copy of, you can get free copies completely free directly to your Kindle of Our Past Does Not Define Us, of Swan Song, Duet the Muses, of In the End, of Sizzle Reel, and of The Temple Outside Time, which are all available completely free. And that is all because today is the release date of Echo Delta Part 1, the sequel to Echo Alpha, which is also free. I don't think I mentioned that one. So, if you have read Echo Alpha and you enjoyed Echo Alpha, because a bunch of people did, because it got bumped up quite high, you can get the sequel. The sequel's $2.99. Came out today. And that will go a long way towards supporting the show and supporting the short that we're trying to make. And again, that's multipleworldproductions.com/Black Friday. But today we're going to talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which is described as the epilogue to Phase 4 and the bridge between Thor: Love and Thunder and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which comes out in May. So, quickly going through what it is, it's the Guardians have bought Nowhere, and are kind of living there now. They got a new ship called the Bowie. I like this new ship's design, and they're on Nowhere. They bought it from the Collector, and they are, and Peter Quill's down in the dumps. He's down in the dumps because Gamora died, and then the new Gamora came back, and she doesn't remember it because obviously she's from before they met, and now he has to deal with all of that. So he's sad, and also, in the past, it's Christmas time, and Kraglin's like, look, it's Christmas, and I remember one time in the past, Yondu really fucked up Christmas for him, so we don't want to do that. So, they go on this, little mini, adventure. It's like, well, what are we going to do? We got to do something for him nice for Christmas, so that way he can feel better, and what they come up with, they, in this case being Drax and Mantis, is, well, why don't we get him a gift? Why don't we get him Kevin Bacon? So the majority of this movie's runtime is about Drax and Mantis going to Earth to get Kevin Bacon and bring him back to Nowhere as a gift for Peter Quill. You get some great comedic moments, like they go to Hollywood Boulevard and they see all the people around, and they you see the so he goes, so they come back, they get the moments on Hollywood Boulevard, you see all the weird people, you see, there's the guy dressed as Captain America, and then Matt's like, Steve, and runs over to him, and you get funny moments like that. Then they go to Kevin Bacon's house, finally, after they get drunk, and they are given a star map, one of the star maps. They go to Kevin Bacon's house, they kidnap him, using Mantis' powers, bring him to Nowhere, and then, Star-Lord finds out, like, you can't kidnap someone, you have to put him back, and then, they explain to him what happened, and he sings a song, and, they go about their day, and it's just great, it is, great little thing. I mean, there's some great comedic beats in it, like, they all hate actors, apparently, for some reason. I buy, the whole scene where they find out that Kevin Bacon's an actor and not actually a hero is great, because it's like, he is, like, wait, you're an actor? It's like, actors are the scum of the universe, and it's like, the bit goes on a little long, but it's still funny, and it's got a great, and, like, I'm willing to forgive that. Like, when I was first watching it through, I was like, this bit's going on way too long, let's just, move it along, but it pays off so well, with such a great monotone one-liner from from Nebula, where it's like, I guess you're not a complete piece of shit after all, like that. It's such a great payoff that it's kind of worth it. My biggest problems with it is the idea of calling it an epilogue feels kind of weird, because look, they're not going to say it's the start of Phase 5, because Phase 5 we're kind of kicking in the high gear with moving towards Kang and Secret Wars. So this is not really a start of Phase 5, but it's not really Phase 4 either, because when we talk about Phase 4, it's like, the theme around Phase 4, maybe it does kind of fit, because it's like the theme around Phase 4 is kind of handling grief and dealing with this great, like universal grieving that needs to happen in the aftermath of Endgame, and then kind of taking all the characters and being like, okay, so where is everyone moving forward? Now we know where everyone is, let's move on from there. Like that kind of thing. And I feel like it does that moderately well, and that is kind of well executed. And it's just, I feel like because Quill is kind of the object of it, like he is what the action is happening onto in this, where it's like we are trying to make Quill feel better. He doesn't have an active role, and I think that there are two characters who really could be explored having grief in this following Endgame, and that is Nebula and Quill. Nebula because it's her sister, and Quill because they were dating. I mean, they were definitely fucking. Like, let's no bones about it. The two were definitely fucking. But were they dating? Were they a solid, like, what was going on there is not entirely ever laid out properly, and I've expressed that problem with Infinity War, where it's like, I don't think that these two dying, like him being on, like, I don't believe that their love is worth sacrificing half the universe for. So, be that as it may. But looking at the show broadly from there, and looking at it kind of like, okay, so you have these two characters, both of them are kind of sidelined, and it's more the Drax and Mantis variety hour, which I'm fine with, only because we don't have a ton of Mantis material, and Mantis never really got a chance to shine on her own. I just feel like it is the kind of thing where I'm not 100%, like, I feel like that's where it kind of loses me a little bit, is that it's like, look, we have this thing where it's like, we're trying, like, and the thing is, too, it's like, the emotional payoff of the entire thing is in the beginning you have Mantis conflicted about telling Peter the truth of her parentage, which, spoilers, which got spoiled in the Marvel, in the, what's it called, in the Legends thing about them, that they put up early, and it was like, oh shit, they revealed that too soon, and then take it down. Mantis is Ego's daughter, which makes her Quill's half-sister. And she's conflicted about telling Peter this, because she doesn't want to be like, oh, well, I don't, like, cause her whole thing is, look, his father killed his mother, and I don't want him to look at me and see that every time. And there's this, and it's like, it's this great thing, and it's undercut by a few jokes, and I don't think entirely land. Like, I feel like the pairing of Drax and Mantis is good, but I feel like you need someone for that scene who is more straight-laced to play off of. And then be like, have Drax come in at the end and be like, I'll go with you. Because it's like, I feel like if it's against Rocket, like we saw in Infinity War, that Rocket can kind of be that, the rock to do the therapy on, because that's where Thor has is, Thanos is just a long line in a number of bastards who will meet their end at my blade. Like, it's that kind of thing where he's, like, and then the and if you're wrong, he's like, well, I got nothing left to lose then. Like, that is, like, and that's because Rocket makes a good sounding board for that. Like that moment where he's like, okay, time to be the captain. It's such a great moment for him that I feel like Rocket would have been better in that scene. Especially considering that we're really going to dive into Rocket's backstory in Guardians 3. I feel like that's kind of something that we better service. I also feel like or use Nebula, because Nebula is also going through that pain of having Gamora back, but not remember the last 4 years of them adventuring together, and like how their relationship kind of repaired after they came to terms with what happened with their father. Like, it's like either of those characters would have been better sounding boards for that. And then for her to, at the end, tell Peter and be like, look, it's about your father, it's about ego, and then it's like her breaking down and trying to tell him. It's a great character moment for them both. I feel like it could have been better, what's it called? It would have been better served doing, if Quill had a more active role in it, or that had been addressed at all at any point during the runtime of this short, without, it being like, have that be like when she gets drunk with Drax at the bar where they're playing, what's it called, the waitresses, Christmas Wrapping by the Waitresses. Have that be the moment where she's talking to him there about how, she thinks she's gonna tell him and all of that, and like, why are you going such a, like, there's so much ample emotional room in this short that they just don't take. And one other thing that kind of was not the best was there are animated portions that they do for flashbacks, and there are, you have these animated flashback portions, and it tells, the story of Quill as a kid with, I don't think is it kid, Sean Gunn, whose name I'm forgetting. I don't know if it's a kid version of him or like a young adult version of him. I'm not entirely sure if they're supposed to be the same age. And Yondu coming in and being like, no, destroy it. We don't give gifts. We earn what we get, and throwing it away. And then it ending with, the end of that story being that he gives, what's it called? And I understand why, because when you have Guardians 2 be what Guardians 2 is, the Yondu I remember thinking, I'm like, that's fucked up, because this is not the Yondu that got killed off. This is the Yondu that we saw in Guardians 1, and for most of Guardians 2, until we really just decided to do a character retcon about what kind of person he is. And then for it to be at the end, the flip of, oh no, and then he opened it, and it was the troll, and that troll having that significance, it's such a great moment. And then for him to get his guns from Yondu, also works so well in that little sequence. My only thing is, you're doing a holiday special, and this animation doesn't look great. Now, I'm not saying that for this little bit of animation you got to go to the studio that did What If, because that looks fantastic. But maybe I would have gone with if you've ever seen Santa Claus is Coming to Town, the sequence with Jessica, where she's singing about reflections. Maybe I'm mixing up Mulan, but the sequence where she's singing, the one who becomes Mrs. Claus. She's singing about something about, wanting to do something for the kids. I don't fucking remember. It's been a year. It's been a while since I saw that movie. But that's done in 2D animation. Maybe that style, considering they go out of their way to reference Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. In this, maybe that. Or I would have done stop motion if we had the budget for it. Maybe it was a budgetary concern, but I would have gone stop motion for that beat. In the style of that. And they do kind of do it at the end, which makes it all the more baffling as to why this animation looks so jarringly bad. Where it's like, you can't do something because then we get to the end, and I think that it's why I now say that I Am Groot definitely has to be canon to, or counted in Phase 4, is that without I Am Groot, that moment of him making the art for them as a gift is less impactful, because that's what he was doing in that too. And I do really like the idea that he made these little stop motion dioramas, but use that to tell that story. And I feel like that would have been better than, what's it called? Than the animation that they used in that sequence. It just kind of feels like just slightly off, or just off enough where you're like, why is this like that? Why? Which is a question I was asking as I'm watching. I'm like, this doesn't look good. And it's not even like it went with one of those things where it's like, it doesn't look good, but it's an homage to X, Y, or Z. Maybe it is an homage to something and I just didn't catch it. But that's the thing, is I consider myself fairly well versed in pop culture. And if I'm not catching it, I don't know what percent of the audience is catching it if it's meant to be an homage. But it's fine. I mean, the Guardians of the is fine. There's definitely room for improvement. I'm excited. Like, I love seeing these characters together. Like, that was one of the better parts of Thor: Love and Thunder, was seeing them together. And then in the credits it being, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then it goes through all of them. Like, it's like, it's always a joy when they're on screen together. I always love that, and and it's got me excited for Guardians 3. I just think that a little more development that sets up what the plot's going to be of Guardians 3 would have been appreciated, especially since it was sold as, this is bridging between Love and Thunder and Guardians 3, and it doesn't really do that super well. But it's available on Disney Plus, and it's only 45 minutes, and I think the special presentation format is doing great things for Marvel Studios. It's giving them a lot of leeway to explore new things and tell shorter stories that maybe are not entirely needing an entire series or needing an entire movie. It's just, here's a story we want to tell. We're going to tell it in this short amount of time, and then we're going to move on from there. And I think that it really services, it works very well, I think, for what they're trying to do. But we will wrap up there for today. And our next episode will probably be tomorrow. I am seeing Glass Onion. So Knives Out 2. So I'm excited for that. I liked the first Knives Out. And I liked The Last Jedi. And we will see how good Knives Out 2 is. But until then, have a great rest of your week.